Welcome to the deep dive. Our goal here is really to cut through all the noise, the information overload, and just get the vital insights straight to you. Today, we're digging into something pretty serious, and it's moving fast. It's the conflict unfolding right now, June 2025, between Israel and Iran. We've looked through a whole stack of sources for you, news reports, encyclopedias, the lot, just to help you get a handle on what's actually going on.
And it's really critical to understand this, isn't it? It's got so many layers, the origins, the potential global fallout. It's complex. So this deep dive, it's a chance to kind of synthesize all that information, pull out what really matters for understanding it. And just to be clear, like always, our aim is just to lay out the facts and ideas from the sources we've seen. We're not taking sides or endorsing any viewpoint, just, helping you get informed.
Okay, Red, let's unpack this then. Starting right at the flashpoint. What exactly kicked off this really intense exchange? Our sources are pretty clear. They point to June 13th, 2025. Israel launched something called Operation Rising Lion. And this was big. Over 100 strikes on military and, crucially, nuclear targets inside Iran. We're talking, according to the sources, centrifuge sites, key for enrichment missile facilities, and even IRGC command centers in Tehran, other places too.
Yeah, and what's really striking from the sources is how Iran reacted.
Yep.
Immediately and significantly, just hours later, they fired back more than 150 ballistic missiles and about 100 drones aimed at Israel. That kind of direct tit-for-tat action on that scale, that's a real step up from, previous shadow conflicts. It makes you ask, okay, what were the immediate consequences? How did this first exchange set the tone?
Well, it certainly didn't stop there. The military actions just kept going. Israeli strikes have continued. They seem to be focusing specifically on more of Iran's nuclear infrastructure. And significantly, sources report deaths of high-ranking Iranian military figures and scientists as well. Suggests a pretty specific strategy.
And Iran's retaliation has also kept pace, really matching that intensity. They've launched hundreds more missiles since then. One source, the AP, I think, mentioned a number around 400 missiles in total. Now, most have apparently been intercepted, but tragically, there have been civilian casualties in Israel. What's fascinating, though, is seeing this advanced tech being used by both sides, under real fire.
Right. Absolutely. You're talking about Israel's defenses, like Iron Dome for shorter range stuff, and the Arrow system for those big ballistic missiles. Sources indicate both systems are, working overtime, which really underlines the sheer volume of what's coming in. There was also a detail, wasn't there, about Israel's anti-missile stocks potentially being under pressure. That kind of paints a picture, doesn't it? The defense system being really stretched. And while we talk about missiles and tech, the human cost is just devastating. That's the real tragedy here. For Iran, sources mentioned thousands of casualties. The AP gave a figure of at least 639 killed. We're also hearing about huge numbers of civilians displaced, specifically people fleeing Tehran, heading north.
Yeah, and on the Israeli side, tens of casualties reported and hundreds injured. And it's mentioned that many civilian areas have been hit by debris, even from missiles that were shot down. This level of civilian suffering, the displacement on both sides, even this early on, it's more than just a humanitarian crisis. It really hits at the long-term stability, the social fabric of the whole region. You wonder how they recover if this keeps going.
Right. And while all this is happening on the ground, the world is definitely watching. International reactions are, mixed. You've got the United States under former President Trump. Sources say they're considering military support, maybe even getting directly involved. And there's mention of the U.S. imposing an ultimatum on Iran. That sounds like serious pressure for de-escalation.
It does. But contrast that with Europe. Their diplomatic efforts seem to be on a different track. They're apparently planning nuclear diplomacy with Iran, even with all this violence going on. If you zoom out, that difference is pretty stark, isn't it? The U.S. under Trump seems focused on, let's say, immediate deterrence, forceful. Whereas European diplomacy looks like it's prioritizing, maybe reviving nuclear agreements, trying to stop proliferation down the line, even amidst the conflict. Our sources really highlight that. It's like a fundamental split in how to manage the crisis.
That is a stark contrast. Do the sources give any sense of where those opposing approaches might lead, or are they just pulling in totally different directions? Meanwhile, globally, you see countries focused on getting their people out. Evacuations. We've seen reports mentioning Australia, India. They have Operation Sindhu, China, New Zealand, all getting their citizens out. At the same time, you hear world powers broadly calling for restraint, trying to keep it contained. So, okay, with all these moving parts, what's next? It feels incredibly volatile. Militarily, you've got U.S. assets moving, the USS Nimitz, the Ford carriers, positioning in the region. That's a clear signal. And former President Trump hasn't taken direct strikes on Iran off the table, according to reports.
Meanwhile, Iran's leadership, specifically Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei, seems dug in, very firm stance. Sources quote him denouncing U.S. involvement, calling potential intervention irreparable, and he's explicitly rejected any demands for surrender. That's a clear message, isn't it? It suggests Iran is prepared to endure quite a lot rather than back down. Complicates any quick de-escalation.
Definitely complicates things. And yet, amidst all that, the defiance, the military posturing, there are still diplomatic efforts. Sources mention EU-led talks happening, Switzerland, Geneva. So conversations are still going on behind the scenes. Does that mean there's still a path, a sliver of hope, maybe, even while the fighting continues?
Well, it certainly shows how complex this is. You've got multiple layers working at once. The rhetoric is tough, the military action is real, but these diplomatic channels haven't completely closed. It suggests the international community is, pretty desperate to avoid this spiraling into an even bigger regional war. The challenge, obviously, is finding any common ground when both sides seem so entrenched in their positions right now.
So just to wrap up the key points for you, we've seen these intense back-and-forth airstrikes and missile attacks between Israel and Iran. There's a heavy human toll. Thousands of casualties reported in Iran, dozens in Israel, and significant civilian impact, people forced from their homes, infrastructure damaged.
And the global stakes here are just incredibly high. There's a real risk this could widen, pull in the U.S., destabilize the whole region. That spillover effect is worrying. The bigger picture is that diplomacy is technically still on the table, but it's facing huge challenges with the ongoing strikes and the hardline stances. It really just underscores how fragile the whole situation is right now.
Understanding a crisis like this while it's unfolding is so important, and we really hope this deep dive has helped cut through some of the noise for you, giving you a clearer picture, and maybe something to think about after this. Considering those different international reactions we talked about and the really strong words from both sides, what do you think might be the most significant ripple effect if this conflict escalates beyond just the military stuff? Something maybe not getting much attention yet, just some food for thought.